it's planning ahead. It's making sure that I know exactly, one, where I'm going, what I'm doing. Two is making sure I have all the gear with me that I need to bring. Because if I'm in Nowhereville, Montana, which I've been there, I've got to make sure that I have...
There's no BH photo there, right?
There's no B&H photo there. And shipping is going to take 3 days, So you got to make sure that you have everything in the bag. Sometimes that can be a pain, especially if you're flying, and you got to carry, all this gear through the airport. That can be a real pain. But I found this one case that I have my tripod in that also I can carry all my lighting tripods, all my lighting stands, all in one case. And people ask me at the airport, are you golfing? Are these golf clubs? I go, no, this is all my camera equipment. And it's as heavy as crud. I mean, I should be like Hulk here, carrying all this stuff around. But I've learned how to pack so that I can get all my gear in just a few bags and yet have exactly what I need when I arrive at Nowhereville, Montana. And it works. So that's that planning ahead and that experience has really helped me accomplish some of the things that now. I did a film a couple years ago called Thirsty Land. It's on Amazon. I did hire a cinematographer to come with me, and that was the first time I had hired someone to come with me to all the shoots, and that was amazing for me. Because now, when we're sitting down with a subject to do the interview, usually, I'm setting up the lights, I'm setting up the microphones, I'm setting up the camera and making sure the angles are right and making sure the framing's right, and then I'm asking the questions. Well, when I had this guy with me, he took care of all that other stuff, and I could just communicate with the subject, and it was like, wow, this is what Brian does all the time. It was pretty cool.
It's fun to focus on one thing, sometimes, yeah, a lot of times, so when our company will travel for work, it's amazing how small the film community really is, even on like a global or national scale. So we will fly with key players, so I'll go as a director, some producers will fly, but we will hire local crew, which is great to give that work to the local area. But it's amazing how similar everyone is in different cities. You can learn to read people pretty quickly just based on a phone interview or a conversation. And typically we'll hire our DP first, and they'll make an audio recommendation for an audio person. Because there aren't many audio person reels. There should be audio reels, I think. That's kind of cool. Here's my audio recorder for this interview right here. Listen to it. But we'll hire a DP first, and they'll say, hey, I've got this guy I work with. So again, even on their side, it's that relationship building. Who do they trust to bring on? Our production coordinator, Karen, starts with Production Hub and works outward from there.
Karen will also ask the other DPs that we've worked with before.
Oh, yeah, we've asked other people we worked before, like who can you recommend in this town? Or so again, you kind of build the network. I hate that term, but it's really just like friends, right? You kind of like grow. People have talked about Mandy. It's always been there, but like Production Hub seems to be a little more updated, I guess, and more, more current. And more, we've seen better results from Production Hub.
About 6 years ago, I was doing a shoot out at John Deere headquarters in Moline, Illinois. And we were going to have to light up big combines and big equipment. And I knew that I didn't have the lighting equipment to do that. But back then, I went to Craigslist.
Oh, no.
I know. But I found a winner. I found a gaffer in the middle of Iowa City. If you're ever doing a shoot in Iowa, this is the #1 guy. Literally, he does, anytime in fact, he's getting ready to get real busy with the election season, all of the news networks hire him to do the lighting.
Amazing.
So when he pulled in with his 2-ton truck, and he had everything in there that you could imagine, he was like, you know what? If you want sexy looking combines, you got it. And it was amazing to have, and he told me when I emailed him through Craigslist, okay, I don't recommend that, but I did this time. He said, I will be the hardest working guy on your set. And that's what made me hire him. And literally, he was the hardest working guy on my set. And I've hired him in subsequent shoots as well. And so, when someone steps up and says, I'm going to take care of you, and then they follow through and they take care of you, you make a friend for life. And so I would take him to the ends of the world if I'm lighting up big combines or if I'm lighting up one interview and I can afford it. So yeah, when you find those kind of people, you got to hang on to them. You want to keep that relationship going. So I oftentimes I'll just call him. Hey John, how you doing? Just want to see how you're doing, what you're working.
Especially on independent films, it's easy to the positions that you need. Like we got to have a cinematographer because you got to have video. You got to have an audio person, right? I think what I've learned through my history of making indie films is look at the positions that don't immediately scream out as necessary, but really are, and by that I mean like assistant directors. Like who is keeping your director on task and on time? Because it's not as flashy as a position. People are like, we don't need that. We need the camera. We need the actors. We're good. Look at how the Hollywood system works. I know it's cool to like buck against it, but like a lot of those positions work because you need those people there to keep things moving. So the positions that people typically forget on indie film but are essential are ADs, script supervisors. Are we actually recording everything we need? Are the actors saying the lines correctly? Who's keeping people on task? Who's asking the question, what are we waiting on now? And let me go talk to them, make sure we're moving. So that's a big one. Because I've been on sets without ADs, and it really gets confusing quickly.
That's a little story about that. We did a shoot in Omaha, in the city of Omaha, and it was a big shoot, and I was telling these guys earlier, and this is where an AD would have probably really would come in handy. It had someone else directing it. Actually, my lighting guy from Iowa, he was directing it. I was in the video this time because I was hosting it. And so one of our people who we had hired to help with it was a student. She said, can I format this camera through this card on this camera? And I said, yeah, go ahead. And as soon as she pushed the button, I was like, wait. She's like, what? I was like, the governor's interview was on that card, and I had not dumped it. So I lost the governor's interview. So having someone on set that can help manage that media would have been huge.
Yeah, DIT is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So lesson learned. I always now back up the footage and then back up the backup. That's what I do. So, being the only guy on the set sometimes, the first thing I do when I get to the hotel or to the Airbnb that night, I back up everything on 2 drives and making sure that I have that footage secure.
I'm more paranoid. So, media is so cheap now. We just have enough cards to where you don't have to wipe at all the entire show. Just like leave them there, yeah.